Jill. That was beautiful. I love the part about your mother. I'm like that. So today I'm going to talk about spiritual politics, and it is with great trepidation that I enter this arena of, consternation and questions. And so it's interesting to me that Marianne Williamson's name has been mentioned before earlier today, and I'm going to mention her a few more times. Whether we like, this was published in 2004, this book, A Gift of Change, Spiritual Guidance for a Radically New Life. And I know that in her entrance to the presidential race, that she will be, if she doesn't talk about spirituality, she will be embodying spiritual politics for us. And to me, that's incredibly inspiring, no matter how far she goes. It's incredibly inspiring to have a person on the national stage actually embody something that's different from what we're getting right now. So in her book, whether we like it or not, life today is different in ways we never expected. How prophetic. The speed of change today is faster than the human psyche seems able to handle. And it's increasingly different to reconcile the rhythms of our personal lives with the rapidity of a 24-hour news cycle and a 24-hour political cycle, I might add. Most of us live with a deep subconscious longing for another kind of world. We sing about it, write poetry about it, watch movies about it, create myths about it. We continue to imagine it, though we never quite seem to find it. Our secret desire is to penetrate the veil between the world we live in and a world of something much more real. One thing we know for sure, this world can't be it. And then she goes on for the rest of the book. It's just very, very powerful. Her guidance for political change within yourself. So to start off, ever since the election in 2016, I have been unusually interested in politics and political change, and just watching the evolution of what's going on in politics today. And I don't watch every day, and I don't listen every day, and I don't get all the stuff that's going on, but I get the gist of it. And I was very active in the anti-Vietnam War movement in the late 60s and early 70s. And I was marching quite often in Boston, where I was going to college. And I guess that was just after college. And that to me set a tone for my political life, that's for sure. So I want to talk a little bit about our president. I find that ultimately what he does and what he says has to, if we are wanting to be at all spiritually conscious, has to catapult us into a recognition that we have created this, that somehow we weren't paying attention. And this is about our own fear, what the results that we get and the thoughts that we think about what we're getting politically is about our own fear. So we want to look very carefully at our own fears. Our president is the reflection of the unquiet and painful parts of ourselves that we have not yet been able to face. And his true gift, and I do believe it's a great gift to us, that we have such a political storm that we have. His gift to each of us is being a catalyst for us to consider possibly looking directly at the stuck and dark parts of ourselves and lift them into the light of transformation. Can we indeed find sanity among the opportunities that challenge us? Can we find hope? Can we find the light? Can we find these in ourselves? There's another book called Spiritual Politics, Changing from Within. I can't remember who that's by, but you go on the internet and there it is. Just Google spiritual politics. There's a lot of stuff. And Marianne Williamson, of course, her work is on her speaking is on YouTube a lot. But she's been speaking in spiritual terms in political spiritual terms for years and years, and I think that her wanting to become president is an indication for us that there is a way for us to find the light in the chaos. She says in her book, life isn't about not having problems. It's becoming someone who knows how to dwell within problems in a positive way. It's about taking full responsibility for however we might have contributed to a problem, forgiving ourselves and others. But I like what she says when she says, someone who knows how to dwell within problems in a positive way. I mean, that to me has so many levels. When you're dwelling within the problem, you're taking ownership of it. You're saying, that's not somebody else's problem, that's also my problem. And I know with the news as it is, the problems are coming at us in huge bushelfuls. And that's hard to deal with. We can deal with one thing at a time. We can open our arms and open our hearts to one thing at a time, but it is hard when they're all coming at once. And I don't think any part of our lives is free of the influence of the chaos in the world. And as she says, the problems are not inherently bad in themselves. We need to create our opportunities. They are opportunities for spiritual change and to take responsibility. And that's hard, to take responsibility. And we absolutely have to have compassion for our president because he's got a tough job. I don't think he's doing a very good one, but he does have a very tough job. And he's a vulnerable human being, just like the rest of us. And that's important for us to remember. So what is the nature and attitude of your thoughts? Because it starts, recovery, healing, starts with watching our thoughts. And if you're thinking that having Mr. Trump for president is a terrible thing for all of us, think again. We have been calling for change. I mean, just for 20 years, we've been calling for a lot of change. Ever since 9/11, we've been calling for compassion. We've been calling for love. We've been calling, and we keep waiting for it to come from outside of us, and it's not going to come from outside of us. It's first got to come from within us. And it's got to come as we share one-to-one. That compassion for another person has got to come one-to-one as we share with each other. And I love what Jill said about her group of very diverse people coming together, and I think that's incredibly important. We still, we attract into our lives two different kinds of people, and one is those whom we have complete harmony with, and those that we have no harmony with. Because we really want to learn, we want to change, we want to be challenged. So my greatest challenge right now is this. It's called Parkinson's disease. And I still haven't taken it terribly seriously because all it does is make me shake. And so when I get here to stand up and speak before you is the time that it shakes the most. And I guess I could put my hands in my pockets. But we have the opportunity to look carefully at what is challenging us. And we can't do that all the time. But we can do that some of the time. We want to do that because we want a better world. And we know that only from inside ourselves can we actually create that. So, what are the tools we need most of all? We need our laughter. We absolutely need our laughter. Everything. So Larry, my husband, when he came out of the hospital in January, said everything is so absurd, and he said everything that's true, its opposite is also true. So I thought that was interesting, and I keep looking at that. So things happen, and then I think, that's true. Well, that's also not true. And so things are indeed unfair. And I learned about things that were unfair when I was growing up on the farm in New York State with two sisters who were equally as grabby as I was to get cookies and chocolate. Or did someone work too hard in the garden, or longer hours than I did? Or did my father would take us planting trees, and he said, oh no, you each have to be the first one to get your tree in the hole that I dig. But that was hard work. That was really, but I can remember doing that at a very, very early age. We had a farm, and it was 20 acres, and it was up and down and hilly, and there was a creek, and it was really beautiful in many ways. But one of the things we did was every year we got free trees, and they were about this tall, and we got them free from the state government, and we planted thousands. I planted thousands and thousands of trees. So our greatest, even though we look at things and we see that they're unfair, our greatest tool is our love. And so loving my sisters at that time was hard to do. Loving my husband is sometimes hard to do. And loving our president is sometimes hard to do. But we do it. We have to do it. He is an ordinary, imperfect, perfectly imperfect human being, just like the rest of us. And he is muddling through life just like the rest of us, with insufficient preparation or supplies. And clearly, each of us is doing the best we can. And it's absolutely a great opportunity for looking at what is out there and what is being reflected back to us. What is there teaching us that we have to depend on our spirituality to take us home to heaven? I think there's some... when we decide we will not live in hell, no one can take us out of there. No one can take us out of hell or take us to heaven or take us out of heaven once we're there, except our own thoughts. So another tool is don't blame anything on anyone. Because when you do that, you're giving away your power to decide what's true for you. And release the need to blame. I mean, we do need to do that at a certain ego level, but we asked for it. We asked for change. We're asking for change at the same time. And so it gives us the opportunity to blame others if it doesn't come the way we want it to. And just watch. I do it all the time. I do it. I blame other people for things that are not going just peacefully for me. So compassion. Compassion for others. Reaching out with our hearts. Compassion. Understanding that we're all in this together. And Marianne Williamson really makes that clear in her talks that I've seen on YouTube, that we are all in this together and we will all get out of it together. And I know that if she were in fact to become president, she would be one person who could work with all parts, all parties, all countries. She is one person who could work. So her bid for the presidency will bring us ideas of how to work with other countries. I know that her capacity for compromise and for compassion is really unequaled. So let's see, she says, we have learned that there is never the best time to come forward to create a better world, but now is the only time. She says, the dramas of life are like the weather patterns, inevitable changes within the course of nature. Can we perhaps learn that resistance is futile? We are not out there resisting the weather. I mean, we're resisting it at a level, but we don't blame the weather for being the weather. We allow it. We don't have a choice. We close the windows or open the windows. We turn up the heat. We turn down the heat. We get out the boots. We shovel the snow. We just do it. We just take care of it. We just handle it. Einstein said, no problem can be solved from the same level of consciousness that created it. So we have to look within to find the answers that we've not seen before. We have to be open to the possibility that something is true that we have never known before. We have to reach out. We have to challenge ourselves to be open to new ideas that we've never known before. And I think in this next election cycle will be different because we are learning that things are possible that we don't know yet. We can choose to see the larger picture, and we can choose to speak of and see a vision of peace for the world. And I was driving this morning, and let's see, it's 17 miles from my house to here, and there were bicyclists on the road, and I was cursing at the bicyclists. I mean, there were lots of them, in ones and twos. And if I can't even be at peace about that little thing. About that little thing. I finally started laughing because, I was finally turning inward and seeing what I was doing. And how I expect a lot of other people, but maybe I shouldn't expect so much. We just learn one little thing at a time, one little opportunity at a time. We learn. Maybe next time I see the bicyclists, I won't curse at them. The other thing is we can remember that we are one and that the separation we have, that we seem to emphasize so frequently in our society and especially in our politics, is an illusion. And we're creating a life to that illusion. We are giving that illusion more life than it deserves. And we just can be aware of that and make the choice not to do that as often as we do. We can believe. We can believe in ourselves. We can believe in each other. We are strong and we are brave and we can see the best in each other. Let's see the best in each other and open our hearts. Above all, it's important to remember that we are not our stories. We all have stories. Each and every one of us has a story. And we are not our problems. We are not our stories. We are not the stories that we have created that really we love and we love to talk about. But it's important that as we are talking about those stories, it's important to remember, I'm not that story. I have that story. And that story is in me so that I can take it to a higher level. I have that story. I own that story so I can take it to a different place. I'm looking forward to taking this story to a different place. I might say, I am taking this story of my disease to a higher place. Mary Ann reminds us, in every community there is work to be done. In every nation there are wounds to heal. In every heart there is the power to do it. In every heart there is the power to do it. And now it's open mic time. My favorite.